Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate with Nicole. I'm your host, Nicole. The other day I came across a headline indicating that many Canadians see owning a home as a luxury. Luxury. The title and the specific reference to luxury really piqued my interest. So I clicked and I read on. The article was basically discussing Canadian sentiment regarding housing affordability. Very annoying to see this type of journalism, almost off putting for those who just read the headlines and not realize the clickbait. People can really get the wrong impression. So I decided this was a good time to look at and review recent survey results related to Canadian sentiment towards home affordability and ownership. In this episode, we'll also explore the incredible benefits of owning a home, which can truly transform your life and that of your family. So get comfortable, grab a cup of your favorite beverage, and let's get started. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the current Canadian housing sentiment, and that's kind of based on surveys of what Canadians are saying. So, as you are probably all aware by listening to this podcast, the real estate market has been a hot topic across Canada. And there have been several concerns over the affordability of housing and buying a home and the implications of rising home prices and interest rates. Recent surveys, including those conducted by LePage and by Habitat for Humanity, that nonprofit that you may be aware of. They provided us with some really valuable insights into what Canadians are thinking with regards to these issues. What may not be a surprise to you is that a lot of us are concerned about affordability, myself included. So let's discuss that elephant in the room, the escalating home prices that we've seen over the past several years, probably more visible since the pandemic in 2020. So many Canadians, we're all feeling the pinch as home prices have outpaced income growth. So this really makes saving for a down payment and meeting mortgage requirements even more challenging than ever. And that's what I've seen from clients and just general by talking to people and talking to other um, real estate professionals and other professionals within the industry. In addition to the rising home prices, it's also the rising interest rates that have been a more recent concern as the financial burden on prospective homeowners has increased, specifically over the past couple of years. You know, through the pandemic, we saw historically low interest rates, and everyone was getting into the real estate market, because home ownership was so affordable based on those historically low interest rates. However, as interest rates have increased over the past couple of years, it's making that dream of owning a home seem a little bit more distant for some of us. Moreover, the scarcity of affordable housing is particularly pronounced in major urban centers like the GTA, so Toronto, and places like Vancouver. And this shortage has led to calls for more government intervention and initiatives to boost affordable housing projects. So that's kind of the overall sentiment that we've seen. I've seen from survey results, I've seen from speaking to others. However, there is, even with that particular situation, what's happening right now, there is still positive attitudes toward home ownership. So that's really the silver lining. So, despite all of these challenges, home ownership continues to be seen as a worthwhile goal for Canadians. There's a strong desire among us Canadians to build equity and to secure a stable living environment. Interestingly, the perspectives on home ownership vary significantly across regions in Canada and across the various generational groups. For instance, younger Canadians, while they may be concerned about affordability, they still remain very optimistic with regards to owning home ownership and are exploring creative solutions such as co ownership or purchasing in more affordable areas or various other creative opportunities in order to be able to afford to purchase that first home and get themselves into the real estate market. Okay, let's now turn to government policy and implications. So, what's going on out there? So, there's a consensus among Canadians that increased government intervention is going to be necessary to improve housing affordability. Suggestions include offering first-time home buyer incentives or more first-time home buyer incentives, reducing some of the regulatory barriers that currently exist with home ownership, and promoting development of affordable housing projects. I know specifically in the Peel region, there are initiatives in place for developing a more affordable housing projects or for ensuring that when developers do start new projects, that a certain percentage are allocated for more affordable budgets and families who can afford in a certain price range. So that's something that I know that is coming and is in the works. Additionally, there's the growing interest for sustainable and environmentally friendly housing. So that's really highlighting the need for policies to encourage green building practices. Um, And I just wanted to also address, in terms of the Canadians' consensus and thoughts in terms of more government intervention, we do have some great incentives or initiatives that are going to be coming into fruition in the next week on December the 15th. So now let's turn to projections. I want to talk about some of the projections that Royal LePage published last week with regards to the 2025 market. So, based on their survey, they wanted to project what they foresee is going to happen in the next year. Overall, it's anticipated that there will be a year over year growth in Canada of about 6% um, compared from Q4 of 2024 to Q4 of 2025. And that's based on aggregate housing across Canada. For single family detached across Canada, year over year, there's looking to be an increase or projected increase of 7%. And for the condominium market, there's a projected increase of 3.5% year over year, Q4 this year to Q4 2025. So that's specifically for Canada. If we focus in on the Greater Toronto Area, what Royal LePage is forecasting is that there would be, for aggregate, so of all housing types, there will be an increase of about 5% year over year. So, on an aggregate level, we're estimating the average price of a home is 1.167, approximately 1.167 million. Next year, we're anticipating that that same home would be about 1.225 million. So that's approximately 5% increase. Again, for the GTA, for a single family detached home, we're anticipating a 7% increase. So what does that mean in dollars? About a $1.423 million average price for a single family detached Q4 this year versus we're forecasting to be 1.523 approximately Q4 2025. So that's, as I mentioned, a 7% increase. Looking specifically at the condo market, we're anticipating a 1% drop. So currently, condo market is about 721,000 Q4 2024. Next year, we're looking at about 714,000 by the end of the year. So that's what the forecast is looking for 2025. So even with the concern with regards to rising home prices, um, the interest rates, the economy, and various other factors, we're still anticipating that there will be growth in the next coming year. So that kind of sets the stage and provides you with some information in terms of what the sentiments are, what some of the surveys are saying, and then what the forecast is based on the recent Royal LePage survey. So now let's pivot and explore the transformative benefits of owning a home. So I think, or I believe that these benefits hold true whether you're in the Greater Toronto Area, in any other part of Canada, just in general. So let's first I'd like to look at the research and published articles related to the benefits of owning a home. There have been several studies done, and I have to disclose that the majority of these studies are from American publications. However, I believe because we have such a similar marketplace, these findings I think are transferable and are as important for the Canadian market. So, homeownership has, as I mentioned, has been extensively studied for its various benefits, from financial stability to psychological well being. And I'll highlight some of these. From a financial perspective, there was an article published in the Journal of Housing Economics in 2020. The title of it was The Wealth Building Effect of Home Ownership, a Comprehensive Study. This study examined how home ownership contributes to wealth accumulation through building equity. The research found that, on average, home owners accumulate 45% more wealth over 20 years compared to renters. The data was collected from a longitudinal survey of approximately 10,000 households across the various regions in the US. So the thing that sticks out to me is that 45% more wealth over 20 years for those who own a home versus those who are renting. That's pretty significant from a financial perspective. Now, let's take a look at psychological benefits. So, I'm going to look at an article that was published in the Social Indicators Research in 2021. The article was titled The Psychological Impact of Home Ownership, Life Satisfaction, and Mental Health. As a summary, the article explored the relationship between home ownership and psychological well being. It used a national survey of about 5,000 participants to show that home ownership uh, reported 25% higher life satisfaction score than renters. And this attributed to the stability and the control associated with owning a home. So when you're thinking about stability and control, when you're a renter and you're renting a home, you can't really do much. I know when I was renting, you can't put things on the wall. You had to be careful about stapling. You had to be careful about everything that you did. You felt really constrained in terms of making the place your own. So the research did show 25% higher life satisfaction score. That's pretty significant with for homeowners versus renters. Now let's look at community and social benefits. The article I looked at here was published in Urban Studies in 2019, and the title of it was Home Ownership and Community Participation, a National Perspective. Basically, the research investigated how home ownership influences community engagement. The study used data from a national community survey, and it showed that homeowners are 30% more likely to participate in local events and civic activities compared to renters, thus fostering, stronger community ties, stronger relationships, ownership of the area, of the safety, of what's happening in the neighborhood, really being engaged within the community. The next article I'd like to touch on is related to long term financial security. And this article was published in the Financial Planning Review of 2022, and it was titled Evaluating Home Ownership as a Long Term Financial Strategy. So, in this study, the article assessed the role of home ownership in ensuring financial security during retirement. So I know some people are thinking about it now or planning, 30, 40 years in advance. Some people maybe haven't thought about it in and are just starting to now. So the research they did an analysis of 15,000 retirees and found that those retirees who owned homes had 50% more in retirement savings than those who rented. And thus, it was highlighting the importance of home equity as a financial cushion. And um, I want to just expand upon that just a little bit as a financial cushion. And also, we know that as down payments or home affordability can be a stretch for some in the younger generation, we have been seeing that grandparents or parents are providing a gift to their children or their grandchildren to help them get into a home, to help them meet that down payment to either get into a home or if their child or their grandchild is already in a home, to help them you know, make some payments when they've hit upon a challenging time. So you see how having that 50% more in retirement savings and having that equity in the home can not only help you as the homeowner, but help with building and enhancing generational wealth. So the publications mentioned that I mentioned provide a nice overview of the various benefits of home ownership that's supported by robust data and analysis. They really illustrate how owning a home can significantly impact your financial wealth, your psychological well being, which is really important, your community involvement and being engaged with those around you, and your long term financial security, not just yourself, but helping to build that generational wealth for your future generations and family members. So now that we looked at some of the research, just look at in general, a few key factors in the benefits and the transformative benefits of home ownership. As I mentioned previously from the research, building equity. Owning a home allows you to build equity over time. So you may have listened to other previous episodes where I mentioned in the greater Toronto area, we've seen over the past 40 years that equity has grown on average about 6.6 to 7% year over year. Yes, we have some ebbs and flows, but when you take the average of it, you see how you're building that equity over time. Unlike renting, where you make monthly payments and you don't contribute to ownership, each mortgage payment you make increases your share in the property's value. And this really can be a very powerful asset, especially in the long term. So, secondly, why it's a benefit for owning a home is investment potential. Real estate is often considered a sound investment. I know from a personal perspective, my mom, what she would always say, Nicole, whatever you do, save, 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 and buy real estate. That's the number one thing you need to do. So, and I'm so happy that she drilled that into my head from the time I was about 9 and then was always reiterating it periodically. Over time, your home's value can and will appreciate, potentially providing you with substantial returns if you decide to sell. And this investment potentially makes home ownership an attractive financial strategy. So, next, stability and security. And that was mentioned in the research. So, homeownership offers a sense of stability and security, as I mentioned. You no longer need to worry about fluctuating rents or landlord decisions. You can put down your roots and create a stable environment for your family, knowing that your home is truly yours. And also depending on the type of mortgage you select. For example, if you have a fixed rate mortgage, it helps you to keep monthly payments consistent and predictable if that's something that you really want and need and helps you. So, to help you provide that stability or security. The next item is personalization and control. I hinted at that earlier. So, one of the most exciting things of owning a home is the freedom to personalize it, customize, and decorate to your heart's desire. From painting walls, so you have one wall, one color, and then you have a accent color on another if that's what you desire, um, to remodeling spaces. You have complete control to make your home truly yours. This ability to customize can enhance your daily living experience. And though from personal and professional experience, I felt that joy um, of making a place my own or seeing my clients when they purchase a property and seeing the transformation they've made after the purchase. It's really just the seeing the joy on their face. Sometimes less is more. By this, I mean simplicity in the sense that sometimes you want to just decorate. However, if you're thinking of resale value, sometimes having simplicity um, really enhances the potential of your property rather than having it fully decorated with your personal taste. That's just a tip with regards to selling. Community engagement. This was something that really came out in the research about owning a home can increase your sense of belonging and engagement within the community. You find yourself more involved in local events, schools, neighborhood activities, fostering connections and friendships that enrich your life and the life of your family. On a personal note, I know I can say that when I was renting, I wasn't as connected. I wasn't as plugged in to what was happening in the community. I tried, but you didn't know where if you were going to be there for another year. It was just a bit more challenging to really plug in. But when you're living in your own home, You really care about what's happening around you in your community, and you tend to really plug in to your neighborhood. Long-term savings, I did mention that earlier. So while buying a home involves those upfront costs, like your down payment, and it can lead to long-term savings, looking on the horizon rather than just short term, looking at the long term. So with fixed mortgage rates, your monthly payments can remain stable, unlike rent, where it could increase over time. Um, and this predictability can aid in your budgeting and your financial planning. Then there's privacy and independence. So, home ownership offers that privacy and independence that renting may not. You can enjoy your own space without worrying about your landlords or shared walls with neighbors. And it really does help create a more peaceful environment, um, just more calming effect for you. Legacy and inheritance. So, as I mentioned, generational wealth, building generational wealth. I think it's even more important today than it ever was, just giving the rising home cost of homes. So, a home can truly be a valuable legacy for your family. And as I mentioned, it can be passed down to future generations and help them, provide them with some financial security and, a tangible connection to family history. Maybe it's not the family home, maybe it's a cottage that's passed down from generation to generation, helping to really build that connection with the family history. Last but not least, it's the emotional satisfaction. Owning a home brings a deep sense of pride and emotional satisfaction. And it's the joy of knowing you've achieved such a significant milestone. It can really boost your confidence and inspire you in future areas of your life. Because, purchasing a home, it's probably one of the largest purchases we'll ever make in our lifetime. And, achieving this really does have that sense of accomplishment and achievement. So, thank you for staying with me through this exploration of the current Canadian housing sentiment, and then allowing me to pivot to the many benefits of owning a home. So, whether you're a first time home buyer or considering an investment, I hope this episode has provided you with tangible insights and a bit of inspiration. Remember, while the journey to home ownership can be challenging, the rewards are well worth it. To ensure success, it's important to work with a professional who will help you plan your journey. Be sure to subscribe or leave a review if you enjoyed this episode. This is Nicole Lopez signing off. Stay informed, proactive, and take care.